Okay? Okay, welcome back everybody. We had a beautiful lunch and a lovely little cup of tea and coffee out in the sunshine. It was wonderful. So now I would like to finish off this afternoon, and this is what it's really all about. Once you have learned self-mastery, once you have learned self-discovery, you move into self-awakening. And in the first section of self-awakening, we're going to be doing the undoing, the sorting out, and the relinquishment process, as laid out in A Course in Miracles in the development of trust. So what does the undoing mean? What is that process? Anybody? What are we undoing? Be specific. Specificity. Anybody? What are we undoing? Anita?
Our beliefs. Full self.
Attachments. Okay, this is the undoing of attachments. Alright, so what does that mean? What is an attachment? Okay, let's look. There's a truth in this world that not many people know. And it's the truth of all pain. It's the truth of all conflict. It's the truth of all disease. It's the truth of all war. And it's this, and this truth is universal. It applies to everybody and everything. That the source of all of that is coming from one belief, the belief in separation. That's the ultimate truth of this world. That's what lies behind all of the conflict, all of the diseases, is this single belief. And that is what we must undo. We're attached to this belief, but this belief is unconscious. It's completely unconscious. And we can't get to it directly. But it's built, as we have found out, this belief on three thoughts: sin, separation, guilt, and fear. This is the ego thought system in physical form, what it is. Okay? Now, like I said, we can't get to the cause. So look at the law of cause and effect here. Remember, what makes a cause is that it has effects. So that means every action, for it to be an action, must have a reaction. If there's no reaction, there's no action. That's the law of cause and effect. And this law applies on all 5 levels. So what this means is, although we can't get directly to the 3 thoughts of sin, guilt, and fear, alright, we can get to them through their effects. Isn't that so? It's all about removing the blocks to the presence of love. Isn't that what it says right at the beginning of the Course? This is a course in removing the blocks to love. And sin, guilt, and fear are those blocks, but we can't get at them. We can't touch them. They're so buried deep in our unconscious mind, we can't get at them. So we have to look at the law of cause and effect. These are all the effects. The thought of sin or separation alone has a lot of effects. And all of these effects are our emotional attachments. Then guilt also has a list of effects that we're all attached to, these emotions. And then fear has a list of effects. I've just put in a few samples here. You're going to get the full list in the book. Okay? These all effects all reinforce the separation. So in the undoing process in A Course in Miracles, okay, what we're undoing is we're undoing the cause by undoing the effects. If we can remove the effects, we also remove the cause. That's how we get to the unconscious belief that we're separate from God. That's the ultimate goal. When you remove that belief, you remove the blocks to God, you remove the blocks to love. So, again, this is just theory, isn't it? Yeah? Sounds good. So how does this work in the real world? How does this work in practicality? Because Jesus says in the Course, this is a practical course. He repeats over and over again, this is a simple course. So we have the strategy now. We understand the strategy, everybody. Okay? Our attachments are all these emotional attachments. Right? These emotional attachments come to us from our belief in separation of sin, guilt, and fear. Now, those very facts of sin, guilt, and fear tell you that these thoughts are not nice. So these emotions will not be nice. So the emotions come into our body, and what we do is, what we do with everything that's not nice, we get rid of it. I.e., this is why we're always seeking to get rid of something. We're seeking to get rid of these emotions. They're not nice. They're coming from a very not nice thought, either sin, guilt, or fear. So what we do is we go around life and we create stories and dramas around us. And that gives us the opportunity to get rid of these emotions. And that's what the undoing process is. Okay, that's why you need to learn forgiveness and self-mastery, responsibility, acceptance, all of this before you get to self-awakening. Because now what you're doing here is you're looking at the emotions, you're looking at cause and effect, you're looking at the ego, and you're seeing the truth in it. This is what you've been after. You've been looking and searching and seeking for a way to undo the ego. This is it. This is the strategy in this undoing process. There's 3 processes: undoing, sorting out, and relinquishing. We're going to go through the 3. So let me show you how this works in everyday life. Right? Here's a story. Mary is angry with John. Okay? We're going to do the undoing process here now. Show you how it works. Mary is angry with John. We can all relate to this. We've all been angry with someone at some time. Yes? So, you might look at this and you might see that the problem is that Mary is angry with John. And you might think that the problem is John. But Mary wouldn't be angry unless she had good reason. Isn't that the way the world thinks? No. It's okay to be angry if you have good reason to be angry. So you could look at this and you'd be looking at the ego and you might say that the problem is John. Maybe Mary's an angry person, so the problem could be Mary. Or maybe the problem's anger. But when you're looking at the ego of this, you're getting into a story, aren't you? What happened? Why is Mary angry with John? What did John do wrong? You see how the story develops? But you'll be missing the point. And that's the thing about stories, they blind you. The real key here is the emotional attachment. What's binding Mary and John together is the emotional attachment. That's what Mary is trying to get rid of. Okay? And as long as she keeps getting rid of this anger, and the truth of this is that Mary is displacing her guilt onto John. Isn't that true? Because in the Course we learned, right, here's guilt, and here's the effects of guilt, and here's anger. But then we also learn in the Course that a little annoyance, which is subtle, is the same as moderate, which is anger, which is the same as rage. There are no hierarchical illusions. They're all the same. So the truth of that story is Mary is feeling guilty and she's trying to displace her guilt onto John. Okay? Would anybody disagree with that? From going what you know? Okay? So, the undoing business. How does Mary look at this another way? First of all, she takes responsibility. Yes? And she's taking responsibility for what she feels. Yeah? Then she would look with acceptance. And she would say, John's not the problem. Then she would look at what's true here. And what is true here, she would see, I'm attempting to displace my guilt onto John. Is that true? Because you can see now how the 10 corrections, she's referring to the 10 corrections and go through each one of them. They're a checklist. And you can use them in any situation, with any story that you've gone on with anybody at any time. And there's never a story that they don't apply to. Before you think, there might be a story where these don't apply. No. Which means that at all times I'm responsible. It comes back. There's never a time it doesn't come back. So the undoing process now is this, is you bring the effect to the cause and you bring the cause to the answer. Yeah? And do you know what you call that? That's the miracle. That's the formula for the miracle. Okay? Think of it this way. Right? This is what's happening in all your relationships at the moment. If you're on level 1, it means you're attached to the ego thought system. And that means there's 4 basic thoughts that's your masters. You have sin, guilt, fear. Yes? And the 4th one is specialness. And so the 4th one is our motivation. We go and seek in specialness. But our real motivation is we want to get rid of sin, guilt, and fear. Yeah? So we go with the pretense of love in our hearts. But what we're really looking for is a victim that we can project all our emotional pain body that we don't want. But we won't do this deliberately because then we'll be the victimizer. So what we do is we set up a love relationship where we feel justified. You did this to me. It was you that hurt me. I'm not happy and it's your fault. This is the whole pretense that's set up through specialness. So what we're doing is we're trying to get rid of sin, guilt, and fear on everybody. So let's say yous are all my family and friends, okay? Each one of yous, I'll have an emotional attachment to. Maybe some of you have more than one emotion attached to. But what keeps the special relationship going with all of you is my emotional attachments that I have projected onto you. So it's kind of like, I'm angry with you, Susan, and I walk away. I'm bound to Susan now for the rest of my life because of that attachment. You know, I might want Susan out of my life, never to think of her again. But I'm bound now to you with this hate, this emotional attachment I projected onto you. And I might love you, Peter, and I'll project specialness onto you. You know? But every so often when you don't meet my expectations, I'm going to give you a bit of guilt. Is that right? You have a deal? And if you look honestly, right, at all your relationships within your family, within yourself, this is what's going on all the time. If you can look at this honestly, you're pretending to give specialness or seek for specialness, but what you're really doing is every time anybody makes an error, everybody makes a mistake, you pounce, blame, guilt, sin, fear, whatever it is, you're trying to get rid all the time. And then the undoing process is this, that you look honestly at each of your relationships. Look at the emotional investment you have with this person. How does this person make you feel? Will tell you what your emotional attachment is. Is it love? Is it hate? Is it specialness? Is it guilt? Whatever. Is it fear? Is this person someone you fear? These are all emotional attachments we're trying to get rid of. So to make all your relationships holy, which it means to make them all honest, you go through this undoing process of bringing back all your emotional attachments. And this sets every single one of your relationships free. For the first time now, these relationships will become love. They'll become honest. You must make them honest first to experience love in your relationships. They have to be, because love comes from honesty. What I'm doing here by getting rid of my emotional attachments onto everybody is not love. It's hate, disguised as love. When you read the special relationship in the Course, those are the words that Jesus used it. You know, this is hate disguised as love. What's happening really underneath the surface is pure hate. You're using this person just basically as garbage to get rid of your garbage that you don't want to deal with. So here, Mary doesn't want to deal with her guilt, so she's getting rid of it onto John. That's the emotional attachment. So your emotional attachment, how do you feel about your father? How do you feel about your mother? How do you feel about your children? You know, it's all to do, get in touch with your emotional body, get in touch with your true feelings, because there's honesty. You know, think honestly how you feel about someone, and then you'll see the emotional attachment. It has to be sin, guilt, fear. You can't put on specialness too, but it's a waste of time, because, you know, it's a farce, and people call this love. So in the undoing process, what you do is you bring the anger, which is the effect, to the cause, which is the guilt in our minds. Okay? And then you bring the guilt in your mind to the truth. And what's the truth of all guilt? That it comes from the belief in separation. It's the only belief that we need to undo. And that's the process of undoing. Simple, isn't it? You know, you projected something onto nearly everybody around you. Whether you want to accept that fact as true or false is irrelevant, because it's a fact. You know, everybody's done it. What's really difficult here now is the next part, because this is your first step into being honest, is do you want to really look at how this person makes you feel? And what I would say to this is, if you think, I don't really like that person, then you absolutely hate that person. Start there. You know, go to the extreme and work your way back. Because there's no hierarchy of illusions. Don't try to be a nice person and go, well, I don't really like him, so I'm going to fix it. You fucking hate him. Start there. You know? And then you cover everything in between. You know, if it's a little like, and you're deceiving yourself because you know you hate him, but you're trying to be nice and you're trying to be good. So what you're really doing is covering up a lot of the hate. You're not looking at it. So if you go to the extreme, you know, I fucking hate you, and work your way from there, then you sweep every doubt, you sweep everything with you. There's no dark places left, is there? Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Every small little like is a hit. And the worst degree, there are no hierarchy of illusions. So when you're doing this undoing process, be brutal and be honest. And the more honest you are, the more you're going to set these people free. That means you set yourself free. Okay? And we're going to come back to this a little later on for the miracle. But this is really about complete forgiveness here, the undoing process. And it's all about, you know, when you get to this stage, the self-awakening, you've already been learning and mastering the 10 corrections. So when you get to this stage, you know, this will be easy for you because you'll be well in your personality. It's just about now cleaning up this mess. You know, a lot of the work already have been done at this stage. You know, you'll be in now to the last 4 months of your 12-month program when you start this. And this will be just you connecting the dots. Just bringing it all together. Because this is a combination of self-mastery and self-discovery. Okay? So that's the undoing process. The sorting out process, we'll move to that next. So remember, there's 3 stages. So, anybody want to take a guess? What are we sorting out? I can't hear you.
False image.
False image. Not yet. No. This is.
Oh, that's my priority then.
What do you think we're sorting out here? In the course it tells us we're sorting out what's valuable and what's valueless. But what does that mean? What's valuable and what's valueless where you're at right now? At this stage now you're going to be making the commitment to go to level 2, yes? So when you're reading that section, what's valuable and what's valueless, he's talking about level 1 and level 2. Is the peace of God, is total peace of mind valuable to you? You've been asked this question now. You know, and it says also in the course that the peace of God is no idle gift. So you are being asked to look at this stage now. What is it? What's valuable to me? Is it peace of mind? You know, is it the peace of God? Is it the joy of heaven? Is it the joy of God? Is it true love? So you're making these choices and these decisions at this point. So that's what you're being asked. What's valuable to you? Which means that another way he asks the same question is, where is your treasure? Because where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. So where's your heart? Is it where your treasure is? You know? So figure out what is it, what's the most important thing to you in your life right at this moment in time? Is it outside you or is it inside you? Is it level 1 or is it level 2? So in the sorting out process, what we're really sorting out now is our defenses, our coping mechanisms. Because this is, if you look at this on my videos, this is the ego's toolbox and the Holy Spirit's toolbox. And what you have to do at this moment in time now, where you're at before you get to level 2, is make this decision. If I use, from this moment on, the ego's tools, then I stay on level 1. If I use the level 2 tools, then I go and I remain on level 2. I can't use both, because if I use both, I'm going to basically pull myself apart in conflict. One part of me will be empowered to stay here. One part of me will be empowered to go here. And the conflict will be more intense. So this is why if you can give total commitment at this point right here now, one or the other, because that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, you're going to have to make this decision over and over again later on when you're doing the workbook. It's one or the other. You can't have both. So let's look at the metaphysics in the sorting out process. Who is empowered by using the ego's tools? Displacement, sublimation, passive-aggressive, affiliation, busyness. The list goes on. I'll have the full list in the self-discovery. But the list goes on. Who does that empower using those tools?
Ego.
More importantly, your false image. The whole point of this is for you to totally disempower your false image. You see, the false image is loyal to the ego, and these are the false images, basically go-to tools to feel alive, to get energy, to con you, to deceive you. So as long as you're going to be using these, then you're going to make this work really hard for yourself. So Jesus is saying to you here again, what is valuable to you? Make your mind up here. And this is where you need to bring in zero tolerance now.
What?
Zero tolerance for the false image, for the tools of the false image, for the ego, for everything. Because at this point you need to reinforce separation between you and the ego, you, the false image, you and the tools of the ego. You must reinforce this separation now every day, detach from it. That's what this is all about, the sorting out process. You know, as long as you're giving a single shred of energy to the ego, you're asking for the ego. And you shall receive all of the ego. That's the problem. You know, you take a little bit of the ego, you take the lot. Simple as that. There's no escape from that. It has to be total commitment. Say no. And you won't have far to go. If your willingness to do this, all of these will come into your awareness. They'll be revealed to you. then you must make the decision, oh, this is what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. No, I'm not doing this again. Awareness will help you to do this if it's in your heart, if you want nothing else than this. So the sorting out process is about using responsibility in certain situations, using acceptance in certain situations, okay, using forgiveness in certain situations. And your best friend in the sorting out process will be complete forgiveness. Because if you can use complete forgiveness, then you're shutting nearly all of the ego's energy off. Because now you're not regurgitating it. You're not projecting it out, it's not coming back. What you're doing is you're taking it and you're detaching from it. So, if you're being angry with someone, you've made a decision not to use complete forgiveness. If you're upset with someone, that's projection. You're trying to get rid of your guilt. This is the false image. Be vigilant for that. Always use correction. You don't need to attack your false image. All you need to do is correct it. If you attack it, you give it energy. You feed it. It will be looking for confrontation. Don't do that. Okay? It's understanding that this is a part of myself that I made. I designed this because I needed to be accepted. I needed to be loved. But I needed to get rid of my guilt also. So this is why we all made this false image, because it's a means of getting rid of something. And if we can get specialness in return, all the better, and get rid of the guilt at the same time, all the better again. But you know, even when you look at that whole setup, the people who are getting the specialness, they're not happy. You know, anybody that's in a special relationship, they're not happy. You feel disconnected from the other person. You feel maybe at times alone from the other person. You know, I never really felt that oneness with anybody until the relationship with Sharon. Do you know? I never felt that. I always felt separate, felt alone. And that's what comes, because that's what this thought system makes you feel. It's not the other person that's making you feel like that. It's this thought system that makes you feel like that. Like Sharon saying, she was disconnected for a couple of days. She felt it. And she couldn't basically, you know, she found it hard to get out of there. And I'm sure she'll disconnect again, but the next time. You know, and she'll see that, and that'll give her confidence, correct, and then it won't matter to her. After that, you can find yourself anywhere, you can correct yourself anywhere. You know, but because the big fear of this is basically finding yourself in a place that you can't get out of. So that's where Sharon thought she was, but she got out of it. So again, this is what we're all going to learn. This is what we're all going to learn to do. So then the final, just to sum up the sorting out process, it's just look at the ego's toolbox. Where am I using these? What part of my life am I using these? And now start letting them go and start using complete forgiveness on all the level 2 thoughts and ideas, because you're making a choice for level 2 when you're using these. Okay? And then the third process of this is basically relinquishment. So anybody any idea what the relinquishment process is? Olivia?
I thought letting go.
No,
Simply said.
no, I'll let your last answer.
Sorry.
We're relinquishing the masks of the false
False
image,
image, yeah.
and we're relinquishing the false image itself. And a part of this process is, like I was talking about, is you look at your identities. What identities are you carrying right now? And my good friend Krishnamurti, okay, he said it was criminal to call yourself Chinese, to call yourself German, to call yourself French. Criminal, they called it. Love that. Why is it criminal? That's what he was talking about. It breaks oneness. This identity, you know, breaks oneness, breaks your oneness with everybody. And everybody's loyal now to this identity instead of being loyal to the identity of spirit, which is oneness. Okay, that's why it's criminal. So what you're going to do here is you're going to look at what am I attached to, what identities. And what's going to set you free is to be free of all identities. It's not saying not to have identities. You don't have to go and do something crazy like changing your name or anything like that. Okay? This is not what it's about. It's about not changing the external, but changing how you see these identities. See yourself. Free yourself from the attachment of them. Means you can take them or leave them.